Hi everyone, my name is Claire Harrington and I am with Social Tables, and today I am being joined by Greg Bogue of Maritz Travel. Maritz and Social Tables are excited about an upcoming webinar that both Greg and Social Tables CEO Don Berger will be hosting together. It will be on July 23rd at 12 p.m. Eastern, and the title is The Application of Experiential Design to Your Event. So in an effort to get everyone on board before we actually host the webinar, I'm going to be speaking today with Greg, who is the experience architect for Maritz Travel. So Greg, welcome. Thank you for being on here today with me.
Thank you.
Of course. So everyone, just so that you're aware, Greg has kindly offered to write a series of blog posts for us, kind of giving a background to set the stage for our webinar in July. So today we'll be talking to him about each of the blog posts that he'll be writing for us. So Greg, let's just launch right into it. The first blog that you decided to write is going to be titled The Why Factor, which is Experiential Design and Neuroscience. Can you explain what experiential design is and why it's important?
Sure. I think when we think about this industry, we know that we've always been around focused on experiences, but when we really start thinking about experiential design, we start really focusing in then on the guest perspective, and that's really what we're talking about, is really trying to understand the richness of what guests value, and then design those opportunities and experiences and values back into the program.
That makes perfect sense. What's the why factor? What motivated you to pursue this type of topic?
Yeah, great point. I know that, you know, in this business, we spent a lot of time talking about best practices, and that's a what. That's what we do. And really what we're trying to suggest is we might want to understand why things happen. What motivates people? Why do we want to think differently about an event experience? So instead of thinking in terms of best practice, we want to start thinking in terms of best principle. What are the best principles for design? And that's really trying to understand why things happen, why people behave a certain way.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because you're not just settling for kind of the status quo of the meetings and event industry that so many people, I think, use as kind of ammunition to discount our industry and to say, you know, it's just a big party. It's just people not being in the office. So it's very interesting and impressive that you're deciding to actually put some data and some information and some science behind the practices. So with that, part of your blog is going to be about neuroscience. Can you share about how neuroscience informs experiential design?
Sure. I think it really goes back to kind of some of the basics around people and how they behave. And I'm not a scientist by any means, but there's been so many discoveries recently from the academic space and scientific space that we have to start paying attention to what's really driving people, what's driving their behavior. And oftentimes we get caught into this routine of better sameness. We just keep doing the same things over and over again. And people are changing. People's values are shifting, and people are being driven by a variety of motivational drive. And we have to start paying attention to those when we start designing things in. So that's really kind of the light bulbs are going off, I think, in the scientific community about how we are as people and how we behave.
It's interesting. It's somewhat applying like a cognitive psychology to the meetings and events world.
Right. It's really understanding why. Why are we driven and motivated by certain things?
Great. So with neuroscience, how does that drive the design of an event? I'm understanding how it can impact how people are there, but what do you use with your data from neuroscience as it applies to the design aspect?
Well, I think what we need to start thinking about are just some of those key principles that are really underneath all of those various behaviors. One of the very, very most important things that we can use is novelty to change things up. We know that our brain goes into autopilot. If our brain can figure out where it's going, where the event is going to take us, we go into autopilot. And what we have to start doing is thinking in terms of what are they expecting Now, what can I do differently to capture or recapture their attention? Novelty is a way of doing that.
Well, I mean, speaking of novelty, I think that this blog will be very novel to most people, and I'm excited to hear about the webinar. So we'll come back for round 2 in just a few minutes here, but thank you very much for speaking to me about your first blog post. I'm excited to see it.
Thanks.